Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another DVD collection video. Can you hear the helicopter overhead? I live quite near a military base, so we hear that sort of thing quite often. I don't usually notice it, but it just makes me laugh, that I, live in a dangerous place for that sort of thing, terrorist attacks and whatnot. Anyway, I'm going to go through 20 more DVDs and Blu-Rays that have joined the collection. Every time I think, oh, I've only got one more to go, payday rolls around, and I go nuts. Plus I got given a huge bag of DVDs by my granddad that he just didn't want anymore. So I'm going to be showing you some of them. So there's plenty I haven't seen in here, but let's get on with the first one. It's a Blu-ray and it's Salo, or the 120 Days of Sodom, by Pier Paolo Pasolini. On the podcast, which we're taking a bit of a hiatus from, as you may know, Mr. T listed this at number 10 in his list of his 10 favourite horror movies. What year did this movie come out? 1970... I think it's 1972. It just still amazes me that they were able to make a movie like this in 1972. Obviously there were movies coming out around that time that were, things like Straw Dogs and Straw Dogs was 71, I think. I can't remember, but there was definitely strong stuff coming out, but nothing really on this level, and it had a massive budget as well. Compared to most movies of this sort, which is always entertaining to see when you look at this movie. Overall, it's a bit disturbing. I don't think it's as disturbing as people kind of say it is. I think it's a really grim movie for definite, but it's not as disturbing as like I say, Straw Dogs. I think is a more disturbing movie than this. But yeah, that's Salo, 120 Days of Sodom. This is a really nice BFI Blu-ray. It's packed with extras, most of which I haven't watched. It's got alternate cuts of the movie, the Italian language and English language versions. It's got some interviews and stuff. I haven't watched any of that yet, like I say, but yeah, that's Salo. It's one of those movies that you've got to have. It's important in its way. Next up, another movie it's important to have, David Cronenberg's Scanners on Blu-ray. This is one of my favourite Cronenberg movies. It's definitely up there. It's easily top 5. This movie is really good. I would suggest this if you want to get into Cronenberg but you don't want to dive right in at the deep end of his sort of really weird stuff. I'd say this is a good one to start with because the narrative is quite conventional. This is one of the movies that I think your kind of average person could get into a lot easier than, say, something like Videodrome or, The Brood or something like that, although they're classic films. But yeah, Scanners, really, really cool movie about this pharmaceuticals company who, they're... Actually, it's not really about the pharmaceuticals company, but it's about these people who, because of a pharmaceutical that they were, given while their mothers were pregnant, they can now read minds and all of that sort of thing. And can there's like they can do things that make the mind blow up and that sort of thing. It's quite a hard movie to explain, I guess, without watching it, but it's a really, really cool movie. Really, very, very cool. So yeah, I definitely suggest checking out Scanners. I think, like I say, that's a good movie for people who aren't overly familiar with Cronenberg to kind of first dip their toe in with his style. That's a Second Sight Blu-ray. I mean, Second Sight do some great stuff. I haven't seen this one yet. Scanners 2, also from Second Sight. Scanners is the only Cronenberg movie that really started a franchise, I guess. I mean, You know, obviously did the remake of The Fly, and that doesn't really count because he didn't start that. Although there was obviously a sequel to his remake. But I mean, there were like, I think there were 2 sequels and 2 spin-off movies, the Scanner Cop movies, neither of which I've seen. But I mean, yeah, I thought I'd pick up both the Scanners sequels. There's Scanners 3, the Takeover. I thought I'd pick them both up because I'm interested to see how, you know, they'd attempt to turn a David Cronenberg movie into a franchise. You know, I'm looking forward to checking these out for definite. You know, you can't. It's not a movie that you can really see how they would turn necessarily into a franchise. You know, it's not like, say, something like Halloween, where it's easy to see how that became a major franchise, or Friday the 13th. Pardon me. You know, David Cronenberg movies don't tend to lend themselves to that. You know, there was no way there was ever going to be a sequel to, you know, Videodrome or something like that. But yeah, so yeah, that's Scanners 2 and 3. Next up, I haven't seen this one either. Shrooms, an Irish horror movie, I believe, about some people who get fucked up on some magic mushrooms, and weird shit starts happening and people start getting killed, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that one out as well. Heard some really good things about that one. So yeah, that's Shrooms. Next up, Slaughter High. I got this from a seller on Facebook who I've mentioned a few times. I'm going to link his Facebook group in the description because it's really great. You can see some, you know, great stuff for sale there. The disc is one of those sort of, you know, this is an import from the US. I just hit myself in the face with. Yeah, so Slaughter High, slasher movie, you know, in a high school, I'm guessing. Yeah, I haven't seen it. Might as well just admit it. There's going to be a few here that I haven't seen yet. Sleepwalker. This is a BFI presentation of the Saxon Logan. Well, it's not really a short film. I guess it's a short feature. It's like an hour long, I think, or something. 50 minutes. So yeah, you know, yeah, not feature length, but not really a short film. I picked this up primarily because it was described as being a sort of Argento-esque, you know, horror thriller. I haven't actually seen it yet, like I say. But it comes with a bunch of extra shorts on it. So I mean, it's got the Insomniac and Stepping Out. Yeah, like I say, I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, that's Sleepwalker. Next up we have one of those movies that I mentioned getting from my granddad, Stephen King's Sleepwalkers. Haven't seen this in years. For, you know, yeah, this. I mean, I'm dying to see Sleepwalkers again. It's you know, obviously the sort of cat people, you know, shapeshifter movie based on Stephen King's novel of the same name. Yeah, like I say, I haven't seen it in a very, very long time. I was basically a kid last time I saw this, but you know, I'm always up for checking out Stephen King adaptations because his stuff, you know, it just translates well to screen most times. You know, I mean, you know, movies like Carrie and The Shining, they're great. You know, there are some that are, you know, dodgy. You know, Children of the Corn. I've always thought that was kind of a shitty movie, but you know, it's whatever. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Sleepwalkers again. I remember really enjoying it. Next up, Snuff 102. I am just about to film a review of this movie. I will probably upload that before this. So yeah, I'll leave a link in the description where you can check out my thoughts on Snuff 102. This is a US import from Massacre Video. It is a movie about this journalist who starts investigating the world of kind of underground snuff pornography, and ends up as part of, you know, a victim in some, you know, a psychopathic killer's, you know, perverse games. It's an interesting movie, and I'll talk more about what I think of it in the review, so check the description for the link to that. Unless I have actually, you know, uploaded this first, which is, you know, there is a likelihood that will happen in which case hang tight and it'll be there soon. And subscribe, and you'll see it then when I do it. Next up, SS Hellcamp, also known as The Beast in Heat. Haven't seen this yet. Picked it up because it's a video nasty under the title Beast in Heat. Obviously, my understanding is that this is one of the rarer movies to find the original VHS of in the collected of the original releases of the video nasties. But then I don't do that, so I don't really know. Yeah, like I say, I haven't seen it yet. I did mention this recently in a video that I will link in the description where I go through my video nasty collection in full. So yeah, that's something that you should check out in the description. Torso, Where Whores Meet Saws. This is a Sergio Martino movie. I picked this up because I wanted to see some more of the kind of Italian kind of pre-slasher, well, not pre-slasher, but sort of giallo slasher, sleaze movies that kind of came out in the 70s and 80s. I mean, I haven't seen this movie yet, like I say, but I mean, it's a shameless release. This one also came from that Facebook seller. So yeah, Torso, Where Whores Meet Saws. Sounds fun. Next up, the Ultimate Horror box set. Have you noticed the problem with this? It's not a box set, it's 3 DVDs. It's a 3-disc DVD, admittedly. I haven't watched any of these yet. Theatre of Fear, Carnival of Fear, and All Hallows Eve. One of these things doesn't belong here. Yeah, I picked this up like super cheap, brand new, like £4 or something in an Asda. So yeah, I mean, I haven't checked any of these movies out yet. But yeah, I mean, I'm guessing they're going to be pretty terrible. So yeah, that'll do for that. Next up, another movie that I haven't seen yet, Unbreakable. Another one I was given by my granddad. It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, which does not bode well for me. I mean, I just, I think that M. Night Shyamalan has made some remarkably shit films. This is really cool packaging, actually, I've got to say. But yeah, I'm going to check this out, see what I think of it. Oh, it comes with some postcards, like actual postcards. Like you could actually write like addresses and put stamps on these. That's wild. Yeah, it's got like a booklet and what the hell is that? Benny Vista's Home of Entertainment. I'll have to look into that. I don't know. It looks like it's like an advert for a web page that's just come in the DVD. I'll investigate further on that. But yeah, Unbreakable. It's got Bruce Willis in it and Samuel L. Jackson, and like I say, it's directed by M. Night Shyamalan, who, yeah, like I say, I'm just not really a fan of so much. So many of his movies have been really terrible. But yeah, that's Unbreakable. Next up, dropping bits of it. That was a shame, that just fell out. But let me just slide that back in there so I can... The Universal Monsters Blu-Ray Essential Collection. 8 original horror classics in high definition. This was 15 quid when I picked it up, and I would have been a fool to refuse it. So it includes both the English and Spanish versions of Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, The Bride of Frankenstein, my favourite Universal Monster movie and one of my favourite films of all time, The Wolfman, Phantom of the Opera, the 1940... what the fuck was the year? 1943 version, not the original silent version, and Creature from the Black Lagoon. And it also includes, if you've got a 3D TV and 3D DVD player and shit, it's got the 3D version of Creature from the Black Lagoon on there as well, which is obviously a cool little feature. I mean, I don't have one, admittedly. So, I can't, feel any benefit of that, but then, 3D is a bit of a con. The artwork on the box is just amazing. I don't have to tell you how classic these movies are, but I mean, all of the movies on this set are great. And I mean, the disc artwork is just fantastic as well, and you've got more pictures behind. I'm not going to show you them all. But the physical look of this set is really, really spectacular. And it also comes with a very, very nice booklet, first of all, which I'll show you. The original House of Horror, all about the Universal Monsters legacy. It is a really interesting read, I've got to say. All about just the world of Universal Monsters. With great artwork, posters and production photos and really, really cool stuff like that. It's got some biographies on like James Whale and Boris Karloff and people like that who were involved in these movies, which obviously is just great. I loved looking through that. That's just a bit of card with the details of the films on, which is all good. And it came with, and this is something that I was particularly excited about because I'm a bit of a geek. It came with these little art cards with the posters of the movies on. The original, posters and artworks of all the movies in the set. There's The Mummy, that's a good one. The Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, that's an amazing poster. I really want to get that as an actual poster. So yeah, that set really, I bought it just because I wanted those movies for that money on Blu-ray. I thought that was awesome, but all the extras have just made it a million times more worth it picking that thing up. So yeah, it's really, there's no contest for me that was a great deal I got on that. £15 for all those great movies and those little extras was just an opportunity not to be missed. Next up, VHS Viral. I checked out VHS 2 since last time I was talking about these movies. I quite enjoyed it, so I picked this up, even though most reports I've heard from it are that it's shit. Haven't seen it yet, but yeah, that's VHS Viral. Next up, something else I mentioned in the Video Nasties video. Video Nasties, the definitive guide. This is well worth getting. It is all about basically the first disc is a documentary about the Video Nasties era. That looks at goes basically from, it's called Moral Panic, Censorship and Videotape. It goes from basically the dawn of the home video era up to the VRA, the Video Recordings Act, coming in the UK, and it looks at the obscenity trials and all of that sort of thing that videos were facing at the time, and the media circus that surrounded it. Discs 2 and 3 have the trailers for all 72 of the Video Nasty titles on, which is great. They've all got introductions from film critics and filmmakers and all of that sort of thing. It's really, really great stuff. I would definitely recommend checking this one out. It's great stuff. Like I say, it's awesome. Next up, we have Video Nasties, the Definitive Guide Part 2. This looks at everything from the VRA through to the relaxation of censorship around the turn of the century. So, stuff like, the palaver over Child's Play 3 and Rambo and, movies like that. What was that movie called? That short film about the nun fucking Jesus. Visions of Ecstasy, stuff like that. This is signed by Mark Morris, who is the owner of Nucleus Films, who put this out, and Jake West, the director of the documentary. Disc 2 and 3 contain the trailers for all of the Section 3 movies, which was a thing ongoing at the same time as the Video Nasties. These were movies that were not considered, likely to be found guilty of obscenity in a court, but the police had the right to confiscate, basically. And these all come with postcards, really nice postcards with some poster artwork for some of the Section 3 titles. Art of the Nasty, that's an ad, just basically an ad for the book, with all the covers and stuff in. There's Naked Fist. Headless Eyes there, and Werewolf Woman. So yeah, those are really cool. Great to get little extras like that. Obviously, I would have bought it anyway, but it's just a nice little bonus, you know. So yeah, we're coming to the end now. We've got 3 more to go. The Void. This is pretty much a new movie, I think. This is a 2017 film from the makers of The Witch. So I thought I'd pick this one up. Just because, you know, it was relatively cheap for a new movie, you know, £7 I think it was. I only bought it a couple of days ago. Looking forward to checking it out. This is the sort of thing that I might review shortly. So yeah, that's The Void. Looks like fun. Bit of a sort of demon movie. Next up, When a Stranger Calls. This is a US import. Yeah, it's on a dual disc. I hadn't even noticed that. That's how much I haven't watched this particular version. Obviously, I've seen A Stranger Calls. So yeah, I mean, this is obviously a really old DVD. Yeah, this is a one of the kind of classic movies that you know. Well, I say classic. It's a good movie, but it's not a great movie. It's one of those kind of cult movies, you know, in that way. I think it's a really good movie, but I'm quite a big Carol Kane fan. You know, it's basically a movie about a babysitter who you know, is being kind of stalked one night while looking after children by someone who keeps calling the house phone. You know, like years later, it starts happening again, but you know, now she's got her own family and stuff. So yeah, I think When a Stranger Calls is a cool movie. What's not such a cool movie is the remake of When a Stranger Calls. Now here's the thing, I can see why it would have been a good idea to remake When a Stranger Calls, because it's far from a perfect film. You know, that's the sort of movie that should be remade, you know, rather than things like Halloween and you know, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which are absolutely fine as they are. When a Stranger Calls, I could see, but what they basically did was made a really boring movie where instead of, you know, taking the interesting things about the movie, they just stretched the first 20 minutes of the movie out to a feature-length runtime, which is a really weird thing to do. A bit of a biographical footnote on this movie. I remember watching this movie as part of a drama class when I was 13 or 14. When we were doing a thing on sort of horror-based stuff, I guess, in drama. I can't remember exactly what the context was, but I just had a really fucking lazy teacher who, you know, didn't really want to teach, and so every opportunity she would put a film on, and this was one of the films she put on. And I remember, you know, sitting in the classroom with all these people who'd, you know, never seen a horror movie before. And they were just all, you know, going crazy for this movie. You know, they were terrified and stuff. And me and my friend, who at this stage were, you know, well into the horror movies, and we were watching, you know, pretty much anything grisly we could get our hands on. You know, we'd already seen, like, what had we seen by this point? I can't remember exactly. I can't remember the time frame, but we were, you know, checking out all the horror movies we could get our hands on, and the more salacious and nasty the better, you know. So we were just sort of laughing at how, you know, this clearly crap horror movie was making everyone so frightened and tense in the classroom. So yeah, that's just a little biographical note on that one. But that'll do it. That'll do it for this particular edition. Hope you've enjoyed it. Check back soon for more collection videos. Go and check out all the other shit on my channel. It's, you know, all reviews and shit, and it's pretty cool. I haven't done one for a while. I'm about to do one, promise. But yeah, go and check all that out. You know, it's all good. Links, pardon me, like I say in the description. Check those out. Go and check out my Amazon wish list. That'd be really cool if you were going to take a look at that and maybe order me something off of it, because that would basically mean that I will give you all the sets. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you again very soon.